Tonight from the Axis desk, we bring you how India is quietly rebuilding its strategic map in the Gulf. West Asia is more combustible right now than at almost any point since this conflict began. Just this week on July 7th, the United States struck roughly 90 targets inside Iran after 3 tankers came under attack in the Strait of Hormuz. 2 days later, on July 9th, Iran hit back, launching drones and missiles at targets in Kuwait, Qatar and Bahrain, and firing on a base in Jordan that houses American troops. A ceasefire framework signed back in June is only holding, but just. Israel is watching warily, uneasy that Washington's appetite for a negotiated deal with Tehran might leave it exposed. And in the middle of all this noise, India has been running its own quiet, relentless diplomacy in the region. It started with a funeral. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was killed on February 28th, the opening day of joint US-Israeli strikes that set this entire war in motion. India sent a delegation led by Minister of State Pabitra Margarita and Bihar Governor Syed Atta Hasnain. They both went to Tehran for the funeral proceedings, a gesture that Iran government publicly thanked India for. That was just the opening move. From July 5th to July 10th, External Affairs Minister S Jaishankar undertook a tour of Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar and Oman, 4 countries that sit at the very center of India's strategic calculus in the Gulf. The agenda went well beyond a courtesy call. Fast-tracking trade and fintech partnerships, locking in energy supply routes, and taking stock of a security landscape that is shifting by the week, even after the US-Iran ceasefire. Let's start with energy. All 4 countries are significant suppliers of oil and gas to India, fuel that keeps Indian households running and industrial complexes humming. Qatar carries particular weight. It was one of the mediators alongside Oman that helped broker the ceasefire framework between the US and Iran, much as Qatar did during the US withdrawal talks with the Taliban in Afghanistan. Given how fragile that framework proved to be this very week, keeping these relationships solid isn't a courtesy for India. It is a necessity. Energy was only half the brief though. Jaishankar also pushed to fast-track trade and fintech partnerships with all 4 countries, from UPI-linked payment tie-ups to investment pipelines, a sign that India wants the Gulf relationship to be about more than oil and gas moving in one direction and remittances moving in the other. Energy isn't the only reason Jaishankar is shuttling between Doha, Manama, Kuwait and Muscat. West Asia is home to more than 9 million Indian workers, a number that climbs higher still once you count the wider Gulf Cooperation Council, including the UAE and Saudi. Collectively, Indians in the Gulf send home more than $51 billion a year, about 37 or 38% of India's entire remittance inflow, which actually touched a record $155 billion in this last fiscal. Now that money isn't abstract. It has lifted millions of families in Kerala, Andhra, Telangana, Bihar and UP into the middle class. And with Iranian drones now landing in Kuwait, Qatar and Bahrain, the safety of that workforce has become a live concern, not a hypothetical one. Since February, India has faced pressure from all directions, some voices wanting it to align openly with Washington and Israel, others pushing it towards Tehran. India, of course, chose neither. It bet instead on strategic patience. And that bet is just starting to pay off. In June, Washington issued a 60-day sanctions waiver, General License X, permitting the sale of Iranian oil again, at least until August 21st. That gives India a potential new energy source on top of steady Gulf supplies. Today, India maintains workable relations with virtually every player in the region, from the GCC states to Iran itself. The one clear exception is Turkey, and Turkey was really never an energy supplier to India to begin with. Now, zoom out now and the picture gets clearer. While Prime Minister Modi tours Indonesia, Australia, New Zealand, the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to New Zealand in nearly 4 decades, and he's of course there trying to shore up India's Indo-Pacific strategy, Jaishankar is doing the equivalent work in West Asia. Critics can debate the government's choices. What's harder to argue with is the outcome. Even as the region has been rocked by a war, assassinations, and fresh strikes as recently as this week, India has kept its energy supplies flowing and its prices largely stable. This four-nation Gulf tour is the latest installment in making sure that that continues.